All right, so Chapter 5, Lesson 4 is the distributive property. It says here, Jordan buys 3 notebooks that cost $5 each. He also buys 3 packages of pens for $6 each. Number 1 says, write an expression that shows the cost of 3 notebooks added to the cost of 3 packages of pens. So, the cost of notebooks were $5, so we're going to multiply 5 times 3. And then the pens were $6 per pack, so he bought 3 of those, so that's 3 times 6. Now, I'll do the next expression here for number 2. It says, write an expression that shows 3 times the cost of the notebook and 1 package of pens. So if we add the notebooks and the pens together, and then multiply times 3, this is what they're asking for. So we're going to add the notebooks and the pens, so that's 5 plus 6, and we bought 3 sets of those. He bought 3 sets of those, so we're going to multiply that times 3. And here are the expressions for the situation. Is everybody clear? So now it says evaluate both expressions and see what you notice. So now we substituted in there. Now we're going to simplify. So over here, using our order of operations, we're going to do 3 times 5, 15. And then we're going to add 3 times 6, 18. Does everybody see that? So 15 plus 18 is 33. For the other example, for the other expression, using our order of operation, we're going to simplify the parentheses first. So 5 plus 6 is 11, and then we're going to multiply that times 3. And now 3 times 11 is 33. And what do we notice about both of these expressions? They're both the same. Very good. So here we're going to use the distributive property. Now, the distributive property states that to multiply a sum or difference by a number, you're going to multiply each term inside the parentheses by the number outside of the parentheses. Okay, please make sure you write that down. Now, I would also like for you to write down this general form here. If you want to write the examples, the mathematical examples, the number examples also, this is the general form of the distributive property for addition. So here, if you have A times a quantity of B plus C, you're going to multiply A times B, there's the A times B, and you're going to also multiply that A times C. And then because this is an addition problem, you're going to add them together. Is everybody clear with that? Same thing with multiplication. You're going to take the number on the outside of the parentheses and you're going to multiply it times everything on the inside. So here we have A times B. There's the A times B. And we're going to multiply the A times the C. And then again, because this is subtraction, you're going to subtract. All right, so you can model the distributive property with algebraic expression using algebraic tiles. The expression 2 times the quantity x plus 2 is modeled below. So over here, you have the big tile is the x, and the little square tiles, those represent the constant, the 2. Does everybody see that? So here, this is x, and we have 2 1s, so 2 1s makes 2. So we have x plus 2. Does everybody got that? So this whole thing represents x plus 2. Now, if we're going to double that, see this, because we're going to multiply it times 2. That means we have 2 x plus 2s. You got that? So if we have 2 x plus 2s, then here's an x plus 2, and here's an x plus 2. So if I simplify that, how many x's do I have? I have 2 x's, so that's going to be 2x. How many ones do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. So that is going to be plus 4. So the expression 2x plus 4 is the same as 2 times the quantity x plus 2. So here, this says the 2 times the quantity x plus 2 is equivalent to 2x plus 4. This and this are equivalent expressions. The distributive property, we're going to use this example here. We have 8 times the quantity negative 9 plus 4. So here, we're going to take the 8 on the outside of the parentheses, and we're going to multiply it times everything on the inside of the parentheses. So here we have 8 times a negative 9, right there, and then we're going to add 8 times 4. So we end up with a negative 72 plus a 32. So negative 72 plus 32 is equal to negative 40. Okay? So let's do these examples together. Let's do these got it problems. So here we have 5 times the quantity, negative 9 plus 11. So we're going to take the 5 on the outside and we're going to multiply it times everything on the inside of the parentheses. Okay? Now, I do want to let you know that you can do this part. You can just go straight from here to this. You can skip that part. Okay? So, we've got 5 times negative 9 is negative 45. And I'd like for you to write it below. Okay? Plus 5 times 11 is 55. And now, this is what you're going to simplify. So negative 45 plus 55 gives me positive 10. All right, so now we're going to take the 7 on the outside of the parentheses. We have for 7 times quantity 10 minus 5. We're going to take the 7 and we're going to multiply that times the 10, and we're going to multiply that 7 times the 5. So here, we're going to end up with 7 times 10 is 70, minus, okay, 10 times 5 is 35. Sorry, 7 times 5 is 35. So now we have 70 minus 35, which gives you 35. For example C, here we have a 9 on the outside. Okay, we have the 9 on the outside. Now, does it matter that the 9 is in the front or in the back?
No.
No, it doesn't matter. So here we're going to take that 9 and then we're going to multiply it times the 12, and we're going to multiply it times the 8. Okay? So when I do that, 12 times 9 is, so 12 times 9 is 108. And we're subtracting. So now we have 9 times 8, which is 72. So we have 108 minus 72 simplifies to 36. And that's all there is to it. Here are just a few examples of using the distributive property to rewrite the expressions. So here, this is what we've just been doing. We have 4 times the quantity x plus 7. We did this with the pictures. The previous examples were just numbers. So here we have 4 times x. That's going to give us 4x. Plus 4 times 7, that's 28. Everybody see that? Now down here, we've got 6 times the quantity p minus 5. So this is going to be, here the first thing that they did was they did leave it, change it. Does everybody see that? So they've got 6 times p, which is 6p, and then they have 6 times negative 5, which is negative 30. So here we have 6p plus a negative 30, which rewrites to 6p minus 30. We're still going to use the distributive property, but we are not going to do this leave it, change it that they did here in example 3. So here I'm going to redo this. So we're going to multiply still 6 times p and 6 times this number. Now, I know you've heard me say this before. The operation is also the sign of the number that follows. So once again, the operation, you see, when I say operation, I mean addition or subtraction. Okay? So this subtraction is also the sign of the number that follows. Okay? And the reason I say that is because if you do a leave it, change it, it's going to be leave it, change it. Does you see the negative 5? So when we read this, we're going to just read p minus 5, where that 5 is a negative. Okay? So when we multiply, we have 6 times p, which is 6p. And now when we multiply, we're going to multiply 6 times negative 5. What's 6 times negative 5? Negative 30. So when we write this, we're going to write negative 30. And once again, see, we said negative 30, right? The sign, the subtraction, is also the sign of the number that follows. So here, 6p minus 30 is right where we ended up. Okay. So for example 4, we have negative 2 times the quantity x minus 8. So here, once again, they did the leave it, change it. So we end up with negative 2 times the quantity x plus negative 8. And then they took the negative 2 and multiplied it times everything inside the parentheses. And then we end up with negative 2 plus 16. Now, negative 2x plus 16. So now I want to redo this one. So we have negative 2 times the quantity x minus 8. Okay? Now, pay attention when I read it and say it and write it. Okay? So we have negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, right? Now we have negative 2 times what kind of 8? Negative 8. I'm going to circle it like this. Negative 2 times negative 8. What's negative 2 times negative 8?
Positive 16.
Positive 16. So when I say it, I says positive 16. And this is exactly where we just left off, or where we ended up last time. So for example 5, we are going to multiply the 5 times everything inside the quantity, inside the parentheses. Now, look here, you got 2 variables. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. All right, so here we have 5 times a negative 3x, which gives you negative 15x. Very good. Now, we have a 5 times a positive 7y, which is a positive 35y. So positive 35y. You get that? So for example 6, we have 1/3 times the quantity x minus 6. So here you're just multiplying by a fraction on the outside. So we're going to multiply 1/3 times x, which gives me 1/3 x. And then we're going to take that 1/3 and multiply it times what kind of 6? Negative 6. So we're going to multiply 1/3 times a negative 6. Now you can do this in your head, right? 1/3 times 6?
Yes.
So remember, multiplying times 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So here we've got a negative 2. And so here you can, if you couldn't do it in your head, you can do it over here on the side. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2, and that gives me 2 over 1, which is 2. But it's a negative 2, so the negative becomes the subtraction. All right, so for example D, for problem D, we are going to distribute. We have 6 times a quantity A plus 4. So 6 times A is 6A. And then we're going to multiply 6 times positive 4, which is a positive 24. Does everybody see how I said that? So we didn't really have to show all of that leave it, change it work. Okay? So now for example E, we're going to distribute the 8. 8 times M, the quantity M plus 3N. So 8 times M is 8M. And then we have 8 times a positive 3N, which is a positive 24N. Very good. So we write positive 24N. So for example, for problem F, we have negative 3 times a quantity y minus 10. So we're going to do negative 3 times y, which is a negative 3y. Now we have a negative 3 times what kind of 10? Negative 10. So negative 3 times a negative 10 is a positive 30, right? So this is going to be positive 30. So this becomes negative 3y plus 30. So once again, for example, problem 3, we've got 1/2 times w. 1/2 times w is 1/2 w, right? Good. 1/2 w. Now we're going to multiply 1/2 times a negative 4, which is negative 2. Very good. All right, so example 7 says Mr. Ito needs to buy batting helmets for the baseball team. The helmets he plans to buy are $19.95 each. Find the total cost if Mr. Ito needs to buy 9 batting helmets for the team. So here, what they're going to do is they just renamed $19.95 to $20 minus 5 cents. Does everybody see 20 minus 5 cents? $20 minus 5 cents is $19.95, right? Then he's going to use the distributive property to show that he's buying 9, okay? So here, they've got the 9 times the $20, which gives us 180, and 9 times the 5 cents is 45 cents. So when we do the subtraction, we end up with $179.55. All right, so a sports club rents dirt bikes for $37.50. Find the total cost for the club to rent 20 bikes. Justify your answer using the distributive property. So here, we're going to rename the $37.50, okay? So we're going to rename that as $30 plus $7.50. And how many bikes do we need to buy? 20. So now, when we do this distributive property, we have 20 times 30, which is 600. And we have 20 times 750, which is 150. So how much is it going to cost the club to rent 20 bikes? $750.